You're looking at the Piper Turbo Aero 4 by Just Flight. You may have already flown their version of the Aero 3, but I'm going to show you the differences between the Aero 3 and the Turbo Aero 3 and 4. I have flown the Turbo Aero 4 in real life. Of the over 7,000 hours I have, a few hundred hours of those are in the Turbo Aero 4. Also, if you could click that subscribe button, I would very much appreciate it. Here we have both aircraft. The Piper Aero 3 on the left, the Piper Turbo Aero 4 on the right. Both of these aircraft have 200 horsepower, but the turbocharged Aero 3 and 4 are significantly faster than the Aero 3. But you're probably wondering, how is that possible? The Piper Aero 3 makes 200 horsepower at sea level. The Piper Turbo Aero 4 can hold 200 horsepower all the way up to 12,000 feet, which is critical altitude, which is where the turbocharger is spinning the fastest. At maximum power, so max manifold pressure and max RPM, the Piper Aero 3 on the left at sea level can reach a speed of approximately 153 knots true airspeed. And as it climbs, it loses power. However, the Piper Turbo Aero 4 on the right can achieve its fastest speed at 12,000 feet, and at maximum power, it can reach approximately 176 knots true airspeed. So this is inside the Piper Aero 3. It does not have a turbocharger. When we go full power, the manifold pressure is only going to reach about 29 to 30 inches of manifold. And that's the maximum we can get. And as we climb, that manifold pressure is going to drop about an inch per 1,000 feet of climb. And here's the Turbo Aero version. We can increase the throttle. The manifold pressure will come all the way up to 41 inches of manifold pressure. It will do that up to approximately 12,000 feet. You'll also notice in just a second the throttle's not all the way to the stop. It is right there. We're running 45 inches of manifold pressure, so we're overboosting the engine, and we also get that yellow overboost light. And in the real world, this airplane actually has an overboost valve. If you go over 42 inches of manifold pressure, it will open a valve and release some of that pressure to help prevent damage to the engine. And to reiterate this point, if we look to the side as we are now, there's full power. There's 41 inches of manifold pressure, and you can see that throttle's not all the way to the stop. And it is just like that in the real airplane. So now let's go look at some differences between the two airplanes in the air. So here we are at 12,000 feet in the Piper Turbo Aero 4. You can see our indicated airspeed just north of about 150 knots. And if we look over at the tablet on the right, our true airspeed is 172 knots. Another difference between the Turbo Aero 3 and 4, they have a service ceiling of 20,000 feet. The normally aspirated Piper Aero 3 only has a service ceiling of 15,000 feet. And back when I flew these, the highest I ever took one was about 11,000 feet, and I got a true airspeed of about 165 knots. And one other thing to point out, since you're able to maintain a higher manifold pressure and you're able to keep that 200 horsepower up to a higher altitude, you're going to get a significantly better climb rate with the Turbo Aero version than you will the normally aspirated Piper Aero 3. For comparison, here's the Piper Aero 3 at 12,000 feet. We have maximum power, the mixture is lean, and let's see what the differences are. You can see our airspeed is about 112 knots indicated airspeed. And our true airspeed is only 134 knots. So right now, we've got about a 40 knot difference over what the Turbo Aero 4 would be getting. So not only can the turbocharged versions get a higher airspeed, they can also get to a higher altitude where there might be a stronger tailwind that the normally aspirated Aero couldn't even get to. So there you have it. Those are the basic differences between the normally aspirated Piper Aero 3 and the turbocharged Piper Aero 3 and 4. And as always, thank you for watching.